Hello and welcome, my name is Min Kobayashi, and today it is April 3rd, so I decided I should probably do my TBR for the month, because that's a logical decision. I have actually been on a huge reading, craziness, because I read 5 books last month, and I've read 5 books in the first 3 days of this month. So, yay! The 5 books that I have read are The Umbrella Academy, Muse of Nightmares, Above the Dreamless Dead, The Haunting of Hill House, and An Ember in the Ashes. But I'm going to be doing the OWLS Readathon. I will probably jump on another Readathon this month as well, but I'm going to be giving the prompts as well as the extra books that I will be reading this month. Pretty much the OWLS is run by Book Roast, and she has the classes that are offered at Hogwarts and prompts to go along with them. It's competitive and you have to do it for certain careers. I can't open that document, so I don't know the careers. I'm just going to do them all like an overachiever. So let's jump right into it. First we have Ancient Runes, which is a retelling. For this I'm going to be reading the audiobook version of Girls Made of Snow and Ice. This is a retelling of Snow White, and it follows the evil queen whose heart was carved out and it's made of glass, so she's not too caring of a person. And then we have Snow White character who happens to be made of a replica of her mother, which was made out of snow, which is also really creepy. And they kind of war between things and other things happen. I'm super excited to jump into that one. And then the second class that I will be taking is Arithmancy, and this is by 2 different authors. And I'm going to be doing The Silence of Our Friends for this one. This is a graphic novel that tells the story of an important night in the history of civil rights. I do believe that it's the death of Martin Luther King, but I could be incorrect. And it is somewhat autobiographical, and it is by more than one author. Then we have Astronomy, and this one I'm going to choose These Broken Stars by Amy Kaufman. This is a love story about 2 people that are stuck in space together. Not really normally my jam, but you know, Illuminate was super good, so I'm just gonna trust her on this one. Then we have Care for Magical Creatures, and for this we had to have a land animal on it, and you don't know how hard it is to find land animals on covers. And for this one I chose 101 Dalmatians because it is a really short children's novel, and I figured it's a readathon. Why not have short books in here? And then we have Charms, and for the charm that we're going to use is the age line, and this one we have to use an adult novel. And for this I'm going to use Kingdom of Copper by S.A. Chakrabarti, and this is a novel that tells of Jin and Devas, and it is a really magical story that follows Neri and Ali, I adore Nari. Hopefully she'll grow on me more. This is the second in the series, so I'm really excited. It has great Muslim rep as well as just Middle Eastern in general, and it begins in Egypt, and then part of it takes place in a mysterious land, and there's lots of ethics and politics involved as well, and I love it. We have Defense Against the Dark Arts, and for this we have the spell Reducto, and we have to use a title with an R in it, which is super hard. You wouldn't think so. And for this one, I'm going to do Ramona Blue by Julie Murphy. And this is a novel that is about Ramona, and she has blue hair, and she's 6 foot tall, and she's a lesbian. And in her past, she had to live through Hurricane Katrina. And I'm very interested to hear about someone who lived through this, because it's kind of the first natural disaster that I remember really happening in my life. In the process of her growing up, she reacquaints with this boy, and her questions of sexuality begin to see of what is she bisexual, is she straight, is she a lesbian, and have all of these conversations around that. Divination, and to have a work that's set in the future. For this one I am going to use Umbrella Academy, which I already read unless I do something else, and it is pretty much about these wonderful 7 children that were taken in by this eccentric alien dude and raised to be superheroes and have a lot of emotional trauma because of it. Check out the Netflix series, it's better. And then we have Herbology, and we have to have a plant on the cover, and for this one everyone's gonna be super proud of me because I chose The Cruel Prince. When they had like the Readathon or whatever, I realized talking to Kara that I've never read a fairy book, so I can't judge them. So I'm going to take the plunge with like the most popular one right now. It is about Jude, who's a half fairy, or his sister's a half fairy, so she can't lie, and she falls in love with this cruel dude who's sounds terrible. I don't know why is that a plot. But Beauty and the Beast? Is it? I don't know what it is. There's angsty romance in it. My cup of tea, exactly. History of Magic. Pick a book that is at least 100 years old, and for this one I chose The Haunting of Hill House, and this is a story about Eleanor Vance, who has a very repressed life, and then she goes on an adventure to find freedom and to find home and family and belonging, and it ends up in a dark way. And I could also use Above the Dreamless Dead, which is a graphic novel versionization of poetry from World War I that I finished as well. Super good, also super dark, but fantastic. Potions, and for potions we need The Next Ingredient, which is a sequel, and for this one I read Muse of Nightmares by Laini Taylor. And there's other sequels I'm going to be reading, so I might count those, because I only read the last 8 hours of the audiobook. It's about 16 hours long, and it was torture. I don't think that I can read that long a book that just has, I guess they have cool powers. The epilogue was the best, but also too many kissing scenes and insta love. It was brutal. Muggle studies, and for this we need to read a contemporary, and I'm going to choose Geekerella, which of course it's a Cinderella retelling, so it would also count for the first one. And this is a story about this girl, and she is hugely into the sci-fi series, and she's a geek, and she cosplays as a way to try to meet the actor for the reboot, and the actor in the reboot is the stereotypical version of every guy who's like, I'm a heartthrob, but I don't want this in my life. So it should be a great laugh. I'm excited for it. Oh, and it's by Ashley Poshton. We have Transfiguration, and this is to read a book that has red on the cover or has sprayed edges, and I have The Ember and the Ashes, and I have The Haunting of Hill House that have sprayed edges and red, as well as I also have Vicious, which I will talk about later. Into my just general books that I'm going to be reading for the month that aren't a part of it, we have Marbles, Mania, Depression, Michelangelo, and Me, which happens to be a novel about bipolar, and it is autobiographical, memoir-ish, I think. I know that Kat from Chapter Kate absolutely loves it, so I'm really excited to read it. I started a tiny bit. I also have about 100 pages left of Magnus Chase, The Hammer of Thor. This is the second novel in the series that is the Magnus Chase series, and it is about Norse gods and the teenager who's dead and fights things but can also die more. You know, it's cool. Then I also have a Champion, and this is also, I think, the one I was thinking about using for the sequel. This is the third book in the Legend series by Marie Lu, my love, and this follows the land where there is a soldier, and there is a rebel and the most wanted criminal, and chaos ensues and morality is questioned, and there's clearly not a love story between those that are opposing sides. That would never happen. I have Vicious by V.E. Schwab. This is a book that I have been sleeping on. I'm about 90 pages in right now, and I just got it back from the library, and this is about two college roommates who want to find extraordinary beings, and then one of them ends up in jail. And it's fun. I'm really excited. I really love it. I think the reason why it's so exhausting to read because I have to write down like everything she says because it's so marvelous. And then also talking about marvelous, we have Wondersmith, The Calling of Morgan Crow. This is the second book in the series Morgan Crow, and this is about an 11-year-old girl who was cursed to die on her 11th birthday, and then she finds herself in this wondrous world of Nevermore, which is so cool and epic, and she does these trials to try to get into this society and find a home and family, and it's biting satire and beauty. And also talking about sequels that I don't have written here because I just finished An Ember in the Ashes and it was so good. So I started the sequel, A Torch Against the Night, which is about also these opposing sides of a slave and a soldier, and the world is super amazing. It's kind of based on Roman. It's super bloody for a YA, which I love because I love death. This makes me sound a sadist. I like the villain a lot. I like the world, the questions of morality, and one of the best friends is an extraordinary character, and I really like her development. It starts off too actiony, but it really redeems itself. Last and Probably maybe the book that I won't get to is Pages and Co. Tilly and the Book Wanderers. This one I've heard a lot on Lucy the Reader's channel, and this is kind of a book about a girl who goes between worlds, and I know she meets Anne of Green Gables, and I'm super excited because I love the idea of being able to step into books and befriend them. And she also befriends Alice in Wonderland. I feel like I have a really good mix of different books, from YA, from children's to adult, from one's a little bit darker, one's a little bit funnier, and hopefully I will get to all of these. Tell me which books you are planning on reading if you are participating in the OWLS, what house you're in. I'm a Slytherin. Happy reading, writing, and creating, and I will see you when I see you next. Goodbye.